You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning. Yeah, it is. It's Tuesday morning. Tomorrow will be Wednesday. That's great. Anyway, this is what I do every morning. We get here at James Auto Center, and we do a show called Ask the Master Auto Technician, and we've been doing this for years now. I'd say I started on the radio in 1998, I believe that's when. Yes, January 31st, 1998, and then we migrated radio and television, and we've been doing radio, television, newspaper for the last, I know we've been doing television for the last 10 years. So we've got a lot of information out there that we can offer you about how cars work or why they don't work or what can we help you, whatever the problem may be. We also have people that call, like Larry Walters calls from South Florida. He talks about the Fairtax. And a lot of people say, well, James, why do you want to even talk about Fairtax? Well, be honest with you, every decision made by any businessman is determined by what it's going to cost in taxes. Whether you hire an employee or whether you buy a new piece of equipment, every decision we make about that, we say, how's it going to affect our tax base? And that is the biggest problem that I see on businesses out there. We get to a certain point where if you grow any bigger, then you fall into a certain tax bracket, and now you're even worse off because now you're having to pay more of a higher percentage of taxes. So a lot of people a lot of small businesses just say, okay, we're going to make so much money and that's it. We're not going to go any more past that because the more we make, the more we get taxed and the higher percentage of tax we make. And then we end up taking less money home. And so all that extra work is just not worth the hassle. We'd just rather stay smaller and more comfortable. That way we don't have to push the envelope. And that's why I have Larry Walters calls, and he talks about the Fairtax. Good morning, Larry. How are we doing this morning, sir?
Good morning, James. Doing well, thank you. It's still dark here, so I know it's dark where you are.
It is. It's dark here. It's something about daylight savings time that it makes everybody get up early in the morning till it gets all about June or so. Then they change it back again, starting around November. But it does get a little dark early around here. But one of the things we're going to talk about the Fairtax. Now, I know that Vice President Pence is for it. I don't know if Donald Trump is for the Fairtax. I don't even know if he's even talked about it. But the Fairtax is the most logical way to grow our economy that I've seen, contrary to what the naysayers up there that say this is not, we need a progressive tax. And I really think the progressive tax is what's causing the demise of our growing our economy. It doesn't make people want to get out and work any harder. Your opinion on that, sir?
Well, I think you're right. I agree with you on that. And the Fairtax has actually been promoted and is technically a little bit more progressive than the income tax is today. Mm-hmm. The difference is that the Fairtax is so much of a simpler system mm-hmm. than what we are dealing with. Nobody in the United States would have to file a federal income tax return again, so that simplifies that mm-hmm. dramatically. Because of that, we don't need the IRS, so we abolish them.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Gets them out of our lives. The two reasons, as I've mentioned before, the two primary reasons that the Fairtax was selected as, not the Fairtax per se, but a national sales tax was selected mm-hmm. as the best means of taxation for the nation, is that it would be the easiest and least expensive to administer.
Yes.
We're spending around $450 billion a year today just complying with the tax system. Mm-hmm. And it would be about 1/10 of that under the Fairtax because it's so much simpler.
Oh yeah, I have to hire at least 2 extra people just to keep up my tax records. With an accountant
understand.
And the CPA. Yes.
Instead of 2 extra technicians, huh?
Right. Instead of 2 extra technicians. You're absolutely right. I wish I could.
Or being able to take a day off for yourself once in a while.
What day? Say, look, Larry, after 36 years in business, I'm now only working half days from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. Pretty soon I will only be working 8-hour days.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, listen, if I can, James,
Sure.
The last time we were talking, or not the last time, the time before when I got disconnected,
right.
I was pointing out where in the Ways and Means Committee's better plan that they are offering, and this is probably the highest probability unless we, the people, get off of our hands and do something about it.
Tell me more.
where they're touting about the 70,000 plus pages
Oh, yeah.
of tax that we have today. They say that while the IRS code in its entirety, the federal tax law, spans a whopping 70,000 pages, that is almost triple the amount of bureaucratic red tape since we last reformed the code in 1986.
So it's triple.
And then if you go down just about 3 paragraphs where they're talking about 30 years ago, they say on this document, the world has dramatically changed over the past 3 decades, but our tax system has gone unchanged. Do you hear the contradiction of themselves there?
Yeah, it does. It makes it sound like, so they're saying, so how can this be more progressive, as you just said, the fair tax?
Because it totally untaxes the people who are living at or below the poverty level, James.
Okay. Now I see. All right. That's the point that a lot of people...
Whereas now, even somebody living at the poverty level, if they are working, and many of them are, millions of them are, they are still subject to the withholding of Social Security and Medicare taxes.
Correct, they are, yes.
And that goes away under the fair tax because we don't need to collect it from the income. We will collect those taxes within the national sales tax. And not only are only the legitimate people supporting our Social Security and Medicare tax system, the legitimate working people, but anyone who comes into the country, whether they are here legally or not, when they purchase something that is new, they're going to be contributing to our tax system. Thereby, we're relieving lower-income people of that burden, making it a more progressive tax.
Okay. Now, I know in the state of Florida, we don't charge sales tax on food. I know we don't charge sales tax on professional services like doctors or lawyers. I know we don't charge sales tax on a few other things. But if the fair tax comes in, no matter what we buy, whether it's food, medical, whatever, we will pay a tax. Is that correct?
Unless it is used, that is correct.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Though. You said we don't pay tax on professional services.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, a tax will be paid on special services if a product is sold as part of that service.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is correct. If a product is served, but just say you're going to give consulting fees or something like that, there's no taxes on that.
Then there is no tax, and it will be taxed under the fair tax.
Correct.
Because there's no income tax.
Right. That's exactly right. Because a lot of people have asked me that same question. But it's not a value-added tax. It's not every step of the way. It's like if I want to go buy a part to put on a car, I don't pay tax on that part that I buy like I'm doing right now. I'm tax exempt because I'm going to be incorporating it into the repair of a car. And that way we charge tax on the part and the labor total. Am I correct on that? So
that is correct.
All right, good.
That is correct. Right now you're paying the tax, even though you're exempt from the state sales tax.
Right. Oh,
and you would not. There is no exemptions from the proposed federal sales tax, the fair tax, because all of the embedded taxes that are in the price of everything we buy today goes away.
That's true.
Before the sales tax is added, you are only paying the national sales tax. And the reason is there are no exemptions is because when you exempt something under any tax, but when you exempt something under the sales tax that we are talking about, that benefits the higher income people more than the lower income people.
Right, it does. You're absolutely right about that. So this would be a good way to make it a level across the board. Everybody pays their fair share of what they purchase. If they're in the poverty level, they actually get a stipend. I think you said that a monthly stipend of what it costs to live, to pay them back for what they would normally have to pay in sales tax, but they would be paying in sales tax when they go to buy things like food and clothes, the minimum things to live. Did we?
That is correct.
And I just want to make sure I got that right. So we've already got this. We got
However,
this
it's not just the people living at the poverty level that get that. Every American is entitled to that.
Every American.
If they have a residence in this country that they are living in, and if they have a active Social Security account, a valid Social Security account.
Wow.
Then they would qualify for what we call the prebate, because we are giving you a tax refund in advance of you actually having the expense.
Okay, I see that. That's interesting. We got about 4 minutes left. How is this going in Washington right now? I mean, I know I've written Neil Dunn about it. I've written our Senator senators about it, Nelson and Rubio, but haven't written me back other than the fact that, well, it's in committee and we haven't gone any further with it. And how is it being received in Washington?
Well, for the greatest part, it's not being received because
yes.
Congress, as much as it is our duty to vote and put these people in their jobs, they are not really doing what's best for the country. They're doing what's best for themselves.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And they do not want to get rid of an income tax system,
right?
Because of the benefits they get from it. One, they can control our behavior, and secondly, is by providing trading, if you will, tax favors to the lobbyists and the special interest groups by trading those tax breaks to those people, which we end up having to pay for.
Yep.
They get fantastic campaign contributions from those folks.
Yes,
through the PACs.
You're very, very correct on that. I see that, especially in Florida. Trying to figure out where that money comes from on PACs is almost impossible. We've been trying to do that for the last few months. And there's so many doors for them to hide the money and give it away in PACs. It kind of makes you go like, how do they do this? But they do this just the way the Internal Revenue Service is set up on tax breaks and the PAC system. But if we have a fair tax, that would almost, in a way, would probably eliminate the need for the PACs out there because, well, they're not being paid to give tax money to other people in a way. I mean, it would make PACs would still be there, but there wouldn't be as many of them. And I think there's like 3,000 PACs in Florida right now, just in the state of Florida.
Is there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either the other day. I went, 3,000 PACs? You got to be out of it. Yep, that's how many we got in Florida. But
that's incredible.
But everybody's got a political action committee. Everybody got. But if we get rid of the tax situation, a lot of those tax political action committees would go away because there would be no reason for them. Because they're all out there, if I understand correctly, trying to figure out a way to make to pick the winners and losers in their tax bracket, whether it's from realtors all the way down to auto mechanics. They're trying to figure out what's best for their business interests and not what's best for America.
Right.
And that's where you and I are saying we need to think about what's best for America, not what's best
that's
for our
right. Well, the fair tax is equally effective and administered to every person the same. There are no special people under the law with the fair tax. And James, I know we only have about a minute.
Right.
This Thursday's webinar, we are going to be explaining the differences between the fair tax, the president's tax proposal, and the tax proposal that's coming out of House Speaker Ryan and the Ways and Means Committee. So that those who attend can actually see what the differences are going to be, and they can get their questions asked of us because it's a live webinar. And I've sent you, I emailed it just a few moments ago.
All right.
The announcement for you to pass on.
Okay, no income tax. I got it right there. Thursday's webinar. It's going to be. I haven't opened it up yet. But what date's it going to be on? Just in case I don't open it up fast enough. And
it's Thursday, February 23rd at 8 p.m. Our time would be 7 p.m. your time.
Right.
And there is a link on there that people have to go to in order to register to attend.
All right. So, and I'm going to post this on my Facebook wall today, but it's going to be Thursday, March 23rd, 7 p.m. Central, and it's going to be so long as you have a personal computer, and they can log into fairtax.org. Is that where that's at? I'm trying to find it on here on the.
You can do that. Log into fairtax.org/webinar.
All right.
And that will take you to the actual link on the GoToWebinar website.
All right. Well, I'm up against the clock. I got to put it on there. Larry, thank you so much. I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you in a few minutes, everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
James Auto Center, we fix it right.